It is deeply disconcerting to note the fact that violence and vandalism happened at the ramparts of Red Fort on the eve of Republic Day. Who were these protesters? Whether they desecrated the national flag? And whom we have to hold accountable? I would like to debunk certain myths being propagated by the mainstream media houses. First of all, the tricolor, which is a symbol of our national pride. Our constitution makers, they explain the significance of our national flag. The top horizontal band, which is the deep saffron color, which indicates strength and courage, whereas white band, which indicates peace and truth. And at the bottom, we have dark green color, which denotes our relation to the soil. This is the significance of our national flag, which was explained by our constitution makers. However, the attack on this national flag and its virtues happened day in and day out. And coming to the protests, some media houses, they very quickly they are giving khalistani angle to these vandalism or to these protests. If farmers are really violent, they wouldn't have sit there at the borders of Delhi. They braved 1.1 degrees centigrade temperature, and in such a unbearable weather, they sat at the border peacefully in a non-violent manner. So it is unfair on our part to brand the whole farm protest as a khalistani movement. So I have a few questions. First question is that how these miscreants entered up to the ramparts of Red Fort. It is the serious lapse of the intelligence failure, and at the same time it is a serious failure of the law and order in the Delhi. As we are aware of the fact that in the Delhi the law and order falls under the union list. So it is the onus is on the central government to ensure law and order and safety in the national capital. Second question is that if all the protesters who gathered at the Red Fort, if all these protests are the Khalistani sympathizers, they wouldn't have hold the national flag. If you closely observe the visuals which were aired by several news channels, you can find some people, they are waving even national flag. Okay, so that's why we cannot brand the whole movement as the Khalistani movement. It's completely unfair and it's obnoxious and ridiculous to call the whole farm movement as a Khalistani movement. So another question is that it is also the failure of the Home Ministry. It shows the way they handled this whole protest. It shows the incompetence of the Home Ministry. Mr. Amit Shah should take the responsibility for this whole violence instead of silencing the dissenters by branding them or labeling them as a traitors even before the investigation. Let the investigation happen. Only then they can brand anyone as a Khalistanis. It's completely obnoxious and it's completely unacceptable. Dissent acts as a safety valve in the democracy. If dissenters are branded as a traitors or anti-nationals or separatist elements, the very idea of dissent will come under the attack. Our whole national freedom struggle, it was about maintaining non-violence and doing passive resistance. That's the ideals we have followed in our freedom struggle. So the way this whole episode handled by the central government is completely disturbing. On the one hand, government is claiming that these farm bills are in the interest of the farmer. If farm bills are in the interest of the farmers, then why Government is playing hot and cold. Instead of doing consultations now, why the government passed the bills with voice vote in the Rajya Sabha? Why they try to circumvent the Rajya Sabha? So all these questions are to be answered